if you want to invest in a really high cash flowing, high profit short-term rental, but you're feeling maybe stuck on what market to invest in or what type of deal or what type of financing to use, I'm going to clear up all of that for you today so that you can move forward with an amazing deal. And I'm going to do this by walking you through the specific details of an actual deal that we've owned for the last 3 years. And I'm going to show you how all of these components fit together. Because a lot of times what I've noticed is that people can understand maybe a few of these components and understand kind of how it works, but then there's specific aspects they might get caught up on, and then it prevents you from moving forward with a great deal. And that's a shame, because if you just owned 3 deals like the one that I'm going to share with you today, for most people, that's financial freedom. That's over $10,000 a month of recurring net cash flow after all of your expenses coming in on a monthly basis. And so I always hate when YouTubers or people share how-to video, but they speak in generalities. And so typically on my channel, I like to go into the details, but I like to share really recent properties. So a lot of times I'm sharing properties that we're working on right now, or we just got under contract and I'm showing projected numbers. But for this one, I'm going to show you actuals over the last 3 years of how this property actually performed. And I like to show more recent ones typically because people will say, well, yeah, that worked a long time ago, but it doesn't work now. And this exact deal that I'm going to share with you today, we bought it 3 years ago, but it works great today. You know, it's the exact same type of deal that we purchased today. And we bought one just recently, just like it. And the projected numbers are still off the charts. So this deal brings us in over $3,000 a month, over $3,500 a month actually, and it creates a 51% cash on cash return for us. So for most people who are pursuing a, say a long-term rental, they're ecstatic if they can get 10% cash on cash return. And this deal is bringing us 51% cash on cash return every year that we've owned this property. And so we've owned it for 3 years now, and that will continue in the future. And the numbers actually keep just getting better and better. So I'm going to walk you through exactly what this deal looks like and how you can replicate this entire process, from who we used to finance it, to how we found it, to what we did in terms of the setup of the short-term rental, what our reviews look like, what type of income. I'm going to show you our actual income statement from our property management software so that you can see exactly how it all fits together and you can do the exact same thing. All right, so let's dive into this beautiful, beautiful property that we purchased and is doing so well for us. So as you can see, when we bought the property, it wasn't much to look at. It was actually an extreme disrepair. And so we were able to get it for a really good deal because it needed just a full gut rehab from top to bottom. But it was located in a pretty affordable area, but in a nice part of town, close to a lot of attractions. So we knew it could work well as a short-term rental, even though a lot of people would pass by this property and never think of it as that usage. So it's a 3-unit property. You can see we bought it for $105,000 toward the end of 2022. And this property is located in Michigan City. So Michigan City is just on the other side of Lake Michigan from Chicago, about an hour drive from Chicago. And it's an old industrial town. So nothing real high end or anything, but there's some local draws here. It's close to Lake Michigan, and there's some nice restaurants and wineries and stuff in the area. There's a casino, there's an outlet mall, like some local draws that draw people, especially from Chicago, to come visit. But just like your typical old industrial town, they made train cars here back in the late 1800s and early 1900s. So you can see as we zoom in where it's located in relationship to the lake. So this is about a mile from the lake in the downtown area. And then as we look at the street view, this is what the house looks like from the street view after we're done rehabbing it. But it's close to like this. There's a whole strip over here of bars and restaurants. This is the city hall or courthouse across the street. And then, like I said, like a mile walk to the beach there. So we bought it for $105 with a private money loan. And I'm going to go through all the financing here in a second and how the numbers all work out. But a private money loan, anyone can get. A lot of times it's just friends or family or friend of a friend that has a 401k or IRA they want to self-direct. And that's what we use to purchase it and rehab the property. Very easy to use for that purpose. And then we refinanced it afterwards. So we bought it for $105 and then we put $200,000 into gutting the whole thing. And so this is what it looks like now. And so now we have 4 listings. So we have the 3 individual units, and then we have this listing, which we call the super listing. So it's 3 units in one, it's the whole building. So people can either rent one or the other, and the calendars are tied together and they automatically block off the other units once we get the super listing booked or vice versa. So you can see this one doesn't book out nearly nearly as much as the others, only 12 bookings, but we charge a big premium for this because in the peak season, there's a lot of big groups, like big friends and family groups that want to be able to stay in a place that sleeps 20 guests. And so that's what this offers. And they want to stay close together, but yet still have their own space. And so that can work really well for that. And then we have the individual units like this one that book really well the rest of the time. So you can see it's not an over the top fancy rehab, but it's just nicely done. And we put in our listing where it is in relation to a lot of stuff around it. So we get bookings for lots and lots of different reasons. And you can see this one has a lot more bookings. All the individual units have a lot more bookings than the super listing. So after we were finished with the rehab, so we bought it for $105, put about $200,000 into it. So we're all in for about $300,000. We reached out to Lima One Capital, which is one of our lenders. We tend to work with several different lenders, but we like to get quotes from all of them. Lima One is one that we use fairly regularly. And what they do is they send an appraiser out to the property once you're done with the rehab, and they will give you 75% of the appraised value. So the appraiser came out and he appraised this property for $360,000 8 months after we bought it for $105,000. So we had put $200,000 into it. And so you can see almost exactly 3 years ago now, it appraised for $360,000. Now this area has appreciated quite a bit since then. In addition to making around $3,500 a month of net cash flow every single month since we finished, the value of the property has appreciated quite a bit just in the last 3 years. And we got tax benefits at the same time. So you're making money on properties like this in several different ways, which is, again, why these can be so powerful. So I printed off a payment summary report of what this looks like from our property management software. So you can see these are the 4 different listings that we have. And again, like if you're booking the super listing, which is 3 units in one, it's the red one here, then that automatically blocks off the others. Sometimes it looks like that one doesn't book out, but that's because the other 3 are booked out. And so you can see over the last 12 months, this is April 1st, 2025 to March 31st, 2026, that this property has brought in $98,256. Now, there are very, very, very few short-term rentals out there that you can buy for $300,000 or be all into for $300,000 that bring in $100,000 a year. Most people think of short-term rentals as needing to be these single-family, high-end properties. Most don't even think you can buy short-term rental for $300,000, but even the high-end ones, a lot of times don't bring in $100,000 a year. So to have a property that's this inexpensive and it also creates this type of income leads to substantial net cash flow and net profit on a monthly basis because the mortgage is going to be low. And because it's so affordable, our taxes are very minimal. Our insurance is very minimal. So all your expenses tend to be really inexpensive. The cost of living in this area is pretty low. Our cleaning fees are through the roof, all that stuff. But at the same time, it's close to population. It's close to some local draws. And so that drives up the nightly rate and occupancy. So we made over $22,000 in the month of July alone, which is pretty nice income for this type of property, this price point property. So let me just show you exactly how all the numbers work out for a property like this, because again, you don't need to do a big rehab to make the numbers work for a deal like this. You can buy a property turnkey that's already rehabbed and already worth $360,000 that just happens to have multiple units worth of income that brings in this type of money. So bought it for $105,000. After repair value is about $360,000. We got a loan, a private money loan for $280,000 at 10%. And then you can see what the taxes are, the insurances, the repairs, the furnishings. We estimated a bit high on the repairs. It ended up being just closer to $200,000. And then when it comes to the income and expenses, this is what it looks like. So from an income perspective, half the year, we're getting about an average of 75% occupancy, and our rates aren't through the roof. These are pretty reasonable rates, but when you add them all up, it's a pretty nice income. 75% times 470 average daily rate. And then in the low season, the other 6 months, much lower income and occupancy. This is a pretty seasonal market. So you can see the vast majority of our income is made in the high season 6 months here. So, and then you add in your cleaning fee, which is really a pass-through expense to the cleaners. And so our gross income, we projected to be just under $100,000, and that's almost exactly what it worked out to be. So this is the last 12 months is $98,000. That's what it's been for the last 3 years since we listed this property as a short-term rental. So we brought in almost $300,000 on a $300,000 property, which is pretty incredible in 3 years. So $100,000 of projected income, that's $8,200 per month. And then you can see how the expenses break down here. This is just a placeholder for now because we obviously refinanced property, but you can see how the insurance works out to the monthly fee for that, the taxes, the cleaning, utilities, and Wi-Fi. We always try to err on the high side there. Lawn and snow removal, there's not much lawn there, but we like to have a set aside for that. Consumables, toilet paper, paper towels, you're responsible for that as a short-term rental owner. And then some maintenance and capital expenditures set aside. Even though you're not going to use it every month, you do want to set that aside. So our total expenses have been $53.85. And so then if you go to the refinance tab here, and by the way, if you want a copy of this calculator, you can type calculator into the chat box or into the comments, and I'll shoot you over a copy of this so you can fill it in for any deals you're considering. Again, it appraised for $360. So Lima One Capital gave us 75% loan. It was at 7.65%. So I get this question a lot, like, rates have really gone up. Is it still worth it to purchase a property? So you tell me after we go through this, is it worthwhile to buy it? Even if I had to pay 7.65%, which today it's about a point less than this. You can get a DSCR loan for 6.65 pretty easily, but this is right when rates really surged. And so kind of DSCR lenders were a little bit spooked at the time. And so I think we paid even a premium for the time, but it was 7.65% is what we paid. So our new payment is $1,900, even at 7.65%, just because it's a really affordable property. Because we were able to take out 75% of the appraised value, we left about $80,000 of capital invested into this deal. And so sometimes people are like, well, if you're doing a BRRRR, you got to get out all your money. Even leaving $80,000 into this deal of our own money, we're now making $3,400 of net profit, net cash flow every month. And this is a 52% cash on cash return. So most rental property investors out there who are, targeting long-term rentals target 10% cash on cash return. So that means every year, the cash that's coming in that they're getting, like net cash flow, is 10% of the total amount that they have invested in the deal. But as you can see, we left $79,000 in the deal and we're bringing in $3,400 per month. So we're making 52% return on the $79,000 that we left in the deal. That's just the return from the cash flow. As I mentioned, the property has appreciated quite a bit just in 3 years. We've had some significant tax write-offs as a result of owning this property. So there's multiple different ways that you're making money, and some of these expenses that we're counting as expenses in this $4,800 is actual principal pay down. So it's our guest, like every time a mortgage payment is made, a chunk of that is going to pay off our mortgage. So our guests are paying down our mortgage. So it's not truly expenses. That's actually more equity that's being created in the property. So like I said, I wanted to show you a specific deal that we've done with actual numbers, not projected numbers, because I know sometimes I can show projections and we always take the most conservative version of the projections, and that's what I share with you. But it can seem like, well, yeah, those are projected numbers. Do they actually come to fruition? And so I want to show you actual numbers that are very, very similar to what we projected, and how if you were to just copy this and just do this 3 separate times, you would have over $10,000 a month of recurring income forever. That's not going away. And on top of that, it's appreciating. And on top of that, your principal is getting paid down and you're getting tax benefits. So there's even more financial benefits. So for most people, that's financial freedom. By doing that, you would free up 40 plus hours a week because you no longer owe that to your 9-to-5 job. And that lasts into perpetuity through your working time and retirement time. So this is financial freedom. This is why I get so excited about these types of deals. And a lot of times, again, they're counterintuitive. They're not the single family, high-end vacation rental deals that you typically see. These are in utilitarian markets. They work for leisure travel and they work for non-leisure travel because they're so affordable, and they're small multi-unit deals that a lot of people would walk right by and not even consider as short-term rentals. So if you're interested in doing a deal similar to this and you want to work with me through the step-by-step process, I've laid this all out in a very easy to follow program where I personally work with you through the entire process, and I help you line up really profitable deals similar to the one that I just showed you. So if you're interested in that, you can set up a call with me. There's a link in the description below, so you can just go down there, click on the link. It's a link to a short questionnaire, and then it takes you to my calendar or one of my team members' calendars, and you can talk through any questions you have, through your goals, through the details of the program, and I can share all about it and see if it's a good fit for your goals. So thanks again for joining me for this video. God bless, and I'll see you in the next video.